Hey everyone, Zach here. Hope you're having a great day. Today is going to be part number 2 of the 6 rules of retention in MLM. So once again, if you haven't watched the first video on creating unity in your team, you need to go watch that. The link is down below. Then you go watch video number 1. This is part number 2. So part number 2 is this. Don't pass negative downline or crossline. What do I mean by that? If I have a bad day in anything, in business especially, the dumbest thing that I can do is complain to my team. Or complain to a cross line, okay? I don't want to be complaining to my own team. So like for instance, I've seen some people want to tell like war stories to their team. Like, oh my gosh, man, dude, I had the most crazy prospect ever. Like, dude, this dude was like totally like slamming my head against the wall, like asked me if it was a pyramid scam, telling me I was a moron, all this stuff. Man, it was crazy, bro. Wasn't that funny? I've seen this happen. It sounds dumb, but I've literally seen it happen. Now, how dumb is that? Let's say I'm saying that to you and you're my downline. After I get done telling you that, is your belief higher in the business or is your belief lower in the business? It's probably lower, right? It probably didn't feel good to hear me complaining about that. So if I'm your upline, the dumbest thing I can do is say that stuff. Now, obviously, you can probably understand that point of that with downline. Now, I know you could be thinking like, oh, but it's just kind of who I am. I just like to be real, right? That's code word for I like to gossip. But like some of us tell ourselves like, oh, I just like to be real. Well, maybe, but in network marketing, your relationships have more responsibility than outside the business. So you're trying to create a team. You're trying to be a leader and have people follow you, right? In order to do that, you have to be a leader. Leaders watch what they say and they watch what they think. People that are not leaders don't have that burden on them. So a lot of people that that don't have leadership positions, they look at the boss or look at the big person in the organization and they're like, oh, it must be nice. Well, that person up there had to do a lot of things differently than that person down there in order to get up there. And one of the things that they did is treat relationships differently. So in order to be a leader, you have to forfeit the idea that you're allowed to just be loosey-goose with all of your relationships. You can't be, right? You have to control your mind and control the words that you say. Now, I'm not saying you can't have open conversation with friends, but in a business relationship, I am controlling the things that I'm talking about. Now, if I get really close with someone on my team in a private setting, obviously we can joke around, be friends, and like cut up and tell war stories, but only after I know that my war story is not going to screw them up, right? Like me and my sponsor, we talk about stuff all the time, and we I've only been in 2 companies. The last company I was very close with my big upline, and this company that I'm in now, like I'm very close with our sponsor, and like we cut up all the time, and we joke around all the time, and we tell war stories and make fun of stuff and stuff like that. But he knows he's not going to blow me out. But you don't know that with most of your team, so don't do it. So don't pass negative downline. Next thing is don't pass negative crossline. So for instance, like my sponsor in the company that we're in is one of the biggest people in the entire company. Most people on his team inside the company. So if I'm going and talking to someone at an event or something, there's a really good chance I'm talking to someone on his team, like a really good chance. And in fact, another friend of mine, we're not nearly as close, but another friend of mine, he is the top rep in the entire company, so like everyone is on his team. So I know that if I talk with someone, like there's a pretty much 100% chance I'm talking to someone on one of my friends' teams. So let's say I'm having that same sort of kind of funky day, or maybe I'm just joking around, and I'm like, man, oh my gosh, dude, I talked to this like completely moronic customer, dude. Like they literally, like they tried the thing and they hated it. It was freaking hilarious. Kind of a ridiculous example, but what if I did that? Is that person more excited about the business or less excited? Obviously, they're less excited, right? Now, what did I just do there? I did 2 things. Number 1 is I actually hurt that person's business because this whole thing goes up and down on belief. Everything rises and falls on belief. So if this person believes less in the business, they're going to do less. So if I screw up their belief, I screwed up their business. Now, what else did I do? I also screwed up my friend's business because that person is in their group. So if I go screw that person up because I can't control myself, now I've screwed up them and I've screwed up my upline. Awesome. So don't do that. Don't pass negative downline or crossline. If you need to talk about something negative, bring it upline or bring it outside the business. That's it. Now, if you could be thinking like the way I used to think, like, oh, that sounds like like you're putting a veneer, or that's convoluted, or you're not being real with people. No, not at all. You're just having responsibility with your relationships because you're trying to be a leader. Do you think the CEO of a massive corporation thinks differently about his relationships inside the organization than the call center employee? Of course they do. That's one of the major differentiators between those two people. So you have to take more responsibility for a relationship and realize that if you need to talk about something negative, bring it upline, because you're not going to, if you blow them out, who cares, right? But you obviously don't want to, but you probably won't. You're probably not going to blow out your own upline. So bring it upline, bring it to a trusted coach, or bring it outside the business. And if you have something that's tough to talk about that is business related, bring it upline. Don't bring it outside the business, because people outside this industry can't coach to people inside the industry. Not in like most situations. Some situations, sure, but in most cases, that's not a good thing to do, especially if it's a family member or a friend or anyone like that. Now, if you hired a coach that all they do is psychology coaching and you pay them $100,000, sure, bring it up to them. But I'm talking about, like, don't say like, oh, I'm not supposed to bring this up cross line or down line, and I don't really have an upline that I'm that close with, so I'll just go talk to my brother-in-law. Your brother-in-law probably isn't qualified to give you advice, or he might even just say bad, like stupid things, so don't do that. Bring the negative upline. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, that being said, let me give you just a kind of a courtesy warning. Now, in most cases, having a good relationship with an upline is going to be a positive thing for you. So just because I said bring your negative upline doesn't mean you should bring your negative upline or bring your negative to your upline. It means that if you have to have a tough conversation, a tough situation, and bring negative things up, you should talk to your coach first. That's what I mean. What I don't mean is get your upline annoyed with you because every time they see you, you're complaining. Don't do that. Remember, they're people too. If I've got like, okay, let's say there's 100 people and all of them want, my time. And I've got 10 over here that literally always complain. Every time I see them, they're complaining about something. And then I've got 80 that are doing whatever, and then I've got 10 over here that are always valuing my time and edifying me, making me feel good about myself. Regardless of what is right and what is wrong, who do you think I'm going to spend time with? If I see a phone call ring and it's the person that's always complaining or always saying stuff and not doing it, and then I see the phone ring and it's a person that literally makes me feel good because they don't complain and dump crap all over me every time, but they actually do what they're going to say and they are positive. If I see both those calls come in, which call am I picking up? Exactly. Same thing with you. You would act the exact same way. Regardless if it's right or wrong, you're going to want to spend more time with people that treat you right. So remember that when you're thinking about your upline. In many cases, your upline could be a major component of your long-term success. I'm not saying they're the component or the key, but they could be a major component of it. And screwing up that relationship or getting that person to the point where they don't want to spend that much time with you is not necessarily a good piece of that recipe. Is that making sense? All right, cool. So this is part number 2 of the 6 rules for retention in MLM. If you found value in this, do me a favor, leave a comment down below, hit the like button, subscribe so you can get more videos. And I want you to do 2 things. Number 1 is I want you to go to MLMsalesfunnels.com, join the private discussion group where we talk about nothing but using funnels and retention tactics for MLM. And 2, go to the MLMrebelsblueprint.com. That's just MLMrebelsblueprint.com. In that blueprint, I'm actually going to reveal to you the exact strategies. It's not a fluff and pitch letter. It's a real, actual strategic letter that you can use. You can implement the things in that letter where we talk to you about how we do the things that we do to recruit more people in some days, weeks, or months than people do all year long. That's MLMrebelsblueprint.com. Sound good? All right, well, hopefully you have an amazing day. Thanks for spending this time here, and talk to y'all soon.